Yeah, thanks for being here.
I think this is the first one of these events I have done. I've done a lot of your other events, but never this. So I'll just take
Yeah.
your lead, I guess. Let me know what you'd like me to do.
Um, yeah, so this is where you are you able to see the chat?
Yes.
Okay. So people are going to start entering symbols and you just look at whatever they want. So it looks like CNC is the first one.
Okay, great.
OSCR, you're
Excellent.
you're able to see those, right?
I am, yeah. It looks like they're coming in kind of fast, so I'll do my very best. So I guess first I'll just say,
Oh, and then also
go
if
ahead.
if you have anything that you're looking at that you want to share, of course, you're welcome to do that too, or
Sure, absolutely.
overall market analysis, that sort of thing.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess I'll start by saying and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with me or not, but I'll just give you a quick brief background on myself. Again, I'm Jeff Tompkins. So I'm the chief investment strategist at Altos Trading. We launched our company about 10 years ago. I've been trading for coming up, I think, on 25 years. So I do a lot of equities, ETF option, futures trading. I'm also a hedge fund manager. So just to give you a kind of brief background on myself, if you're not familiar with me, what, I'll purely be looking at technical analysis. So I just want to make that clear. I don't plan on commenting on fundamentals or anything if we're looking at individual stocks. So just kind of an FYI, so you know what to expect. So okay, let's start with CNC. So this is Centene Corp. And I'll kind of talk to you about the tools that we use at Altos that I use personally and in my hedge fund, and just give you, an overall technical analysis. But if there's anything specific that you guys want me to look at as it relates to any of these tickers, I'm happy to do so. All right, so CNC. So a few things that we use almost universally in all of our technical analysis. So supply and demand points, so often referred to as support and resistance. So identifying where there's buying and selling pressure, and a little bit more of an art than a science, but as we can see here on Centene, and I'll mark these for you. In fact, let me get the annotator up here. All right. So we'll start with support. So as we can see, there's some significant support down around this 55 level. So what we look for here, and these levels are extremely valuable in terms of forward-looking analysis, although we are looking at past price action. Um, as we can see on the chart of Centene, this level has now been tested multiple times. So had you identified and mapped this level on your chart back in, let's say, early February, right, you would have been prepared for what has now occurred, which is a retest of the level. And we can see consolidation and some sideways price action back down around this level. But in any case, what we look for is, in terms of support, is was there a rotation down into the level previously, and was the asset able to catch a bid? In other words, did buyers actually come in at that price level and drive the share price back up? Okay, so we see a couple of significant instances of that. And then I also look for the frequency of tests. So how often has that occurred? And again, what was the magnitude of the rotation off of the level, so on and so forth. And then the other thing is to always remember is when support is broken, and that essentially means if there's trade below that level, particularly on a closing basis, so on a daily close, it becomes resistance. Okay, and that's important to know because then it is often retested. Okay, so that can help kind of establish more accurate entries and defining risk and all of those things. But in any case, on CNC, there's obvious support down here around the 55 level. It over the past looks like several weeks, again, has consolidated down there and appears to be holding. So that just adds some strength to that level. And you then want to look at the areas of resistance. So there appears to be some pretty obvious resistance up around the 56 price level. Now, there are two types of support and resistance. There's static horizontal support, so that would be a price level like we just looked at the 55 level. And then there's dynamic support and resistance. And what we use for that are averages and standard deviations. And so the indicator you see on my chart here are the Bollinger Bands. Okay, so these are set with a 20 period mean, that's the center band, and then a two standard deviation setting for the outer bands. So those I use for dynamic support and resistance. So the lower band would be dynamic support, the upper band dynamic resistance. And then the center band can serve as either support or resistance, depending on whether price is above or below it and the slope of the average. So like in this case, we have a downward sloping 20-day average. Prices below. So this is dynamic resistance. And then I particularly look for confluence of static and dynamic support and resistance. So although it's not exact, we have pretty close confluence between dynamic resistance at the 20 period mean and static resistance, which again is at that 56 price level. Now, how do I know that's resistance? Well, prior support, right? We had rotation down into the level, caught a bid, rotated up. Here we see price test the level over maybe 4 or 5 trading sessions, and then it breaks. And remember, when prior support level breaks, it becomes resistance. And then, of course, you see here, it retests and continues to serve as resistance. So that's getting a little messy there. But essentially what I'm seeing here is indecision, consolidation, above key support, with the upper end of the range at key resistance, both static and dynamic. And what I look for in these scenarios is price breaking out of static and dynamic resistance. That would, I think, create a buying opportunity. And in there, I will typically look for the breakout. An aggressive approach would be to trade the actual breakout, but as most of us know, it's not uncommon for there to be false breakouts. So I like to wait for the breakout, a retest, confirmation the level holds, and is now confirmed support, and then a subsequent rotation back up. So that's what I would probably look for here on CNC. Again, just purely speaking from a technical standpoint, not in any reference to the fundamentals of the company. Conversely, a break below support, which again is down around the 54 level, would likely result in further rotation lower and maybe a potential retest, confirming resistance, and then a subsequent rotation lower. So that's kind of my analysis of CNC. And then I always look at multiple time frames. So I want to run that kind of same analysis. We were looking at a daily chart, on a weekly or maybe even a monthly chart. And that can often help make it more clear where these levels reside. If we go up to a weekly chart, it's quite clear that there's strong support down around the level we just looked at on the daily time frame. And then lastly, and I'm spending more time on this in this first ticker because you'll kind of know where I'm coming from when we look at subsequent tickers. So I won't go through all this again, but we also use a proprietary algorithm called Trade Trend. Those are the arrows and dashed lines that you see on the chart. These give forecasted buy and sell signals. So these are merely warning signals where the algorithm is forecasting a directional move, and that needs to actually follow through to trigger for it to be a confirmed buy or sell. And those are the little dots that you see that would indicate that the suggested entry price from the algorithm is reached and there is a triggered trade. So yeah, so overall on CNC, I would say probably more neutral based on the past few weeks of price action, non-directional, but upside potential if this support level holds and the stock can manage to break through resistance. So, all right, let's see. Let me get to the next one. It looks like it was OSCR, Oscar Health. Okay. And the other kind of backing up a little bit, uh, key step when analyzing trades, doing technical analysis is getting a broader perspective of the overall structure. So kind of think of the high level 30,000 foot view of what's going on here. What's the structure of the asset? What's the price action structure? What's Are we in a well-defined uptrend, well-defined downtrend? Are we in consolidating? Are we in a range? That's really the first thing I look at. So just pulling this chart up, Oscar Health, not a name that I'm familiar with or trade or look at, but immediately can see this is a stock that is in a well-defined range. So this is not a trending, at least at the moment, not a trending stock, right? It's and these aren't there's not necessarily one magical level. They're often more of a range, and actually I could probably even extend that further down to the 11. But again, you want to look at the number of tests of the level. So this 13 price level is going to be more significant because price is rotated down into the level more times than, say, this 11 price level, and then subsequently rotated higher off of it. But the overall market structure is basically it's in a channel, right? And has it appears tends to kind of trade in a channel, uh, at least over the past year or so. Um, so at the moment, and again, there are some more minor levels of support and resistance in here we could map out. There's one around the 17 level. But at the moment, it's essentially kind of in mid-range between the uh, key areas of support and resistance that define this channel. So for these types of situations, I look when it comes to strategy selection, right? Which would be kind of the next step after going through all the technical analysis. And by the way, let me clean this up a little bit. There's the dynamic resistance I was referring to. So you see in today's session, we had a rotation up into the static resistance and a pullback and a close almost right at dynamic resistance. Okay, that's the upper two standard deviation band. But then when we go to strategy selection, so you know, how would I want to trade something like this? Well, it might not make sense to necessarily put on a long-term bullish position because this is a stock that has the behavior of ranging price action, right? So that might not make sense. Maybe I want to look at, derivatives. Maybe I want to look at structuring an options trade around this type of price action. Well, I've got a well-defined range with well-defined support and resistance. Perhaps an iron condor would make sense where I could establish a short call strike above resistance and a short put strike below support with the, anticipation and assumption that the stock will continue to trade within this range. So definitely range bound. Have had some buy and sell signals. Here we look for those at areas of key support or resistance. So these were great buy signals down around support. This is a great sell signal up at resistance. So try to look for those to align with key levels. All right, let's go to the next one. CEG from Barry. Hey, Barry, I recognize your name. Good to see you. Um, so let's take a look at Constellation Energy. And we're seeing this with a lot of names, at the moment, and that is consolidation. So we've obviously had this, uh, parabolic run up in not just individual sectors like energy and tech and all these things, but just in the broader market, we've had this parabolic run up. Uh, that that buying pressure, without getting into a lot of detail due to time constraints, there's some kind of cracks forming below the surface that it appears to be kind of drying up. So that's partly why I think we're seeing a lot of this consolidation. But that's what I see here in Constellation Energy, and it is occurring. Let me clear that out. Below some relatively minor support around the 310 level. Um, I would say that, sorry, resistance. I would say the stronger resistance is up between 330 and 350. We actually have a pending buy signal here on CEG, and that would require CEG trading up to the algorithm gives you the suggested entry price that would require it trading up to 314.82 above today's session high. Um, let's see, support is down here around both static and dynamic supports down here around the 285 level. You can see, of course, the false resistance breakout in today's session. So in these types of scenarios, I kind of anticipate consolidation will continue until there is a confirmed breakout of either either or both static and dynamic support or resistance. Um, so I would say, expect consolidation unless they're on a closing basis. We get a print above resistance or below support. And then again, look for follow through, look for a retest, and look for confirmation of the level holding and subsequent rotation either up from resistance or down from support. All right, let's go on to the next one, coin. So this is Coinbase. And as I mentioned, we'll probably see this with a lot of the tickers that are being suggested. More consolidation, kind of non-directional, but following. And another thing I didn't mention, always look at not just the overall kind of price structure, but look at it in context of the prior move. So was that a parabolic up move? Was it a parabolic down move? Is it into support? I mean, this was a great buying opportunity down here back in late March, early April. We actually got a buy signal there as well, right off of support. Nice move. And that was following essentially a parabolic sell-off. Um, but look at the prior, again, look at it in context. So now we have a shift in trend, right, where we were making a series of lower highs and lower lows. Okay, that was really changed back here in mid-April, where the previous lower high was broken on a closing basis. The trend shifted. It had follow through, retested support, and then subsequently rotated higher. So until that structure changes, although we're in consolidation, we're in the context of a shift in trend and a rotation higher in previous parabolic up move. And then I also use the Bollinger Bands for particularly the outer two standard deviation bands for dynamic support and resistance. If they are relatively parallel, okay, so they're not, and when you see consolidation like this following this type of parabolic move, you'll tend to see them converge, so vol contraction. But when they're relatively parallel, Okay, they're more likely to serve as strong support and resistance. You can see here we had a test of the lower band and then subsequent rotation higher, and the bands were relatively parallel. The greater likelihood is price will move off that band. Here we're trading almost right at the 20-day average. So for directional trades, whether I'm looking for a long or short trade, uh, that's challenging when you're trading right at the mean. And again, I, I use different averages, but I typically will use a 20-day average. So for directional moves, look for, again, using support and resistance, static support and resistance, but also dynamic. Look for price to breach and exceed either the upper or lower band, and simultaneous divergence to the outer bands. That's typically what's going to indicate a more significant directional move. We saw it back here, right, where here price tested the lower two standard deviation band, but the bands were converging at that time. So price, again, if they're parallel or converging, price is more likely to rotate off of that band. Whereas here we get the breach of the lower band and they're starting to diverge. Okay, that's going to be result in a greater likelihood of a more significant and sustained directional move. So right now we don't have that. We're consolidating, and for directional positioning here on Coinbase, I think it's a challenge until any of those things that I mentioned occur. So I think that's all I have on Coin. Let's go on to the next TIGO. All right, so this is Millicom International. All right, so again, prior parabolic up move, pretty well-defined uptrend, I would say. Uh, Consolidation again. Okay, so going back to early mid-May, right? Uh, TIGO has just been consolidating between support and resistance. So that can indicate one of two things. It's a consolidation that will be followed by a trend continuation or a reversal in trend. So in this case, a downside move. So something to take note of when you're in a well-defined uptrend that is more likely to continue, you'll see this kind of price action where you break through resistance, retest support, break through resistance, retest support. Okay, break through resistance, retest support. When that structure changes and you start to consolidate in the context of a significant, well, this I wouldn't call a parabolic move because there were, I think, significant downside retracements in during the move. Again, look at the overall picture. Well, start of the year, we were trading down around 22, 23 a share. Okay, up to roughly, just above the 38 price level. That's a significant percentage move in a short period of time. It appears to me that the buying pressure and the demand is starting to kind of dry up and consolidate. So we didn't see that necessarily that consolidation prior to that, right? So this could indicate a shift in the supply demand curve, and I would hear again, just like the others we've looked at that are in consolidation channels, look for breakouts, and if that's a downside breakout, it could be or breakdown, I guess you would say, could be significant. How much time? Okay, got a couple of minutes. Let's go on to the next. Let's see, the next they provided several. So I'll just pick the first one here. TDW, Tide Water. Um, okay, a name I'm not familiar with. Looks like this stock has taken a pretty big hit from up around the 110 level down to 30. Um, Again, well-defined downtrend. It appears the trend has shifted as of May. So here we retested resistance, pulled back, had a resistance breakout. Haven't fully retested, got maybe pretty close, which is now support. So now we have support down around the 45 level. But I would say based on the resistance breakout and the breakout from the prior swing high, unless we start getting closes back below static and dynamic support, 45, 43, the trend has shifted to up. And if that holds, more likely to resume to the upside. All right, let's see. Now we are at 3 minutes to the hour. So I think I could probably squeeze in one more. Let me go to Scott's APP, which is App 11, has been a great stock. This stock has done incredibly well. Um, and of course, once it got up to like the roughly the 525 level, uh, had some pretty significant sell side activity. Most recently, and we actually have an open sell signal on this one right now, has held resistance. This is corresponds to the December 6th highs, and sold off from there. It's down pretty close to support. This is going to correspond to the March 25th highs. And so I would just watch this roughly 253 level. I think if that holds, it could rotate higher from there. If it breaks below, there could be more sell side activity. Since this is a name I'm more familiar with, longer term speaking, I think App 11's a great stock, has more upside potential. But this year has, exhibited some more non-directional price action within a pretty wide range. We're looking at like a 300 plus point range from low to high this year. But again, longer term, I would say I'm pretty bullish on this one. Okay. Let me just see if there's any questions. Matt said consolidation equals equilibrium equals horizontal. Yeah, Matt, I would just say, consolidation often indicates more indecision, uh, more of an equal balance between supply and demand. So you're not getting enough buying or selling pressure in either direction to really cause a significant breakout or directional move. And yeah, that's kind of how I would define that. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful. I appreciate all the suggestions there. I'll just quickly, before I pass it back to David, again, let you know who we are. Our company is Altos Trading. Our website is altostrading.com. You can find all of our products and services here. We offer trade alert services. We offer indicators. And the one I was showing you on the chart is Trade Trend. We offer free trials to the Trade Trend indicator on multiple platforms. We offer it on Thinkorswim, NinjaTrader, TradeStation, TradingView, and Metastock, and others. If you'd like to try it out, you can go to our website under indicators, hit get access now. And if you ever have any questions, we have a toll-free number. You can give us a call or you can email us. All of our contact information is located on our website. So